Hey everyone, this is John Cressman with monkeyuncle.com, and we're doing our vertical shooter version 10, or I should say episode 10. And this time we're going to be adding levels and also a in-boss. So hopefully you've been following along, you have your template already. If not, you can download it from our site, monkeyuncle.com. And the first thing, of course, I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as vertical shooter 010. Alright, so let's go ahead into a scene. We're going to go to game and attributes, and we're going to create 3 integers. Alright, the first one we're going to call current level. We're just going to set that to 1 right away. Second one we're going to call enemies per level. And that's how many enemies you want to have before you go to the next level or spawn your boss. So next one is going to be called current enemies, and that's how many enemies you've spawned so far. So just for fun, we're going to set this to 10, and we're going to leave that at 0. So now we have our current level, which is going to start off at 1, our enemies per level, which is 10, and we're only setting at 10. It probably should be closer to like 50 or 60, maybe even 100, depending on your type of game. But we're setting at 10 so that we can see. We don't want to wait for 5 minutes to show you when it spawns. So we're going to hit it at 10. Let's hit it at 5. There we go. So current enemies is 0. All right. So now let's go back to our home. We're going to go into actors, and the first actor we're going to modify is let's go ahead and create a new actor first. Just to show you how it works, we're going to go ahead and do a level complete. Okay, we're going to create a new actor called level complete. We're going to go into them, and it's going to be transparent because we're just going to display a message. So of course we're going to add the change attribute. And as usual, we're going to change the color alpha to 0. Now this isn't going to be on the screen, so we could actually set the alpha under color here. But just for consistency's sake, we're going to leave it in here. Now, as I did say, we're going to display text, and that text is going to be level space, which is option space, complete. Alright, and we're going to make this a little bit larger, 48, and we're going to make it yellow so it stands out. Alright, there we go. Now we need to add a couple things. When this is displayed, we want it up on the screen for a limited time, and then we want to start the next level. So we're going to create a timer. We're going to say after 5 seconds, you can change this to anything you want, but we're just going to say 5 seconds. So after 5 seconds, what we're going to do is we're going to spawn an actor, and that actor is going to be our enemy spawner. Okay, and we're going to spawn that in the middle of the screen, and the way we do that is we go into game, display size, width, divided by 2. That's going to be the center of the screen. And now for our vertical position, we're going to change that to, remember, we want at the top of the screen, and the top of the screen is greater in number than the bottom of the screen, because bottom of the screen starts at 0. Top of the screen will be whatever the screen size says. So we're going to go game, display size, height. Now we want it above that, so we're going to go height plus 200. Actually, you know what, let's make that closer to 300. There we go. And now we're going to make that relative to scene, so we know exactly where it's going to spawn. And now we're going to, once we make that spawn, we're going to go ahead and change a couple attributes. In fact, we're going to put those above that, above the spawner, and that is, we're going to change game current level to game current level +1. And the reason we're going to do that is that spawner is going to start working as soon as it spawns. So we want to go ahead and set these to what the values that we want. So we want game current enemies equal to 0. So basically what we're doing is we're going to say, okay, the level is the level +1, and the current enemies is set to 0. So that basically resets the level. And now we're going to spawn the enemy spawner, and once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and destroy ourselves. Alright, let's go ahead and file save. Remember, save often, always a good idea. Now let's go back to home. And now we're going to go to our enemy spawner. We're going to do a couple things here. Now this is the routine to spawn the enemy. Okay, so we're going to add a couple things. We're going to add a change attribute. So when this kicks off, the first thing we want it to do is we want it to do game current enemies is equal to current enemies +1. So we're going to increment our current enemies. So every time it spawns something, we want it to increment that. And we're going to create a rule and drag it up right underneath the current enemy increment. And we're going to say if game current enemies is greater than or equal to, we could just say equal to, but we're going to say greater than or equal to, game enemies per level, which in our case is 5, but again, could be anything you set it at. So basically, if we've reached the number of enemies we want to spawn this level, then we need to do something. What we're going to do, so we're going to spawn an actor, and that actor is that new level complete we have. Okay, we want it relative to the scene, and much like we did with spawning the enemy spawner here, we're going to go game display size width divided by 2, because we're going to put it in the center of the screen, and we're going to, we could put it in the center of the screen, but I don't want it exactly in the center. I want it slightly above the center. So we're going to do display size height divided by 2, which is going to be the exact center of the screen, but I want it slightly above that, so I'm going to put plus 100. Okay, that's a relative to scene. So we're going to spawn this, and then once we spawn it, we're going to destroy ourselves, because we don't want to keep spawning enemies. So we're going to destroy ourselves after this. Now, if this isn't true, it's just going to do its normal routine and keep spawning enemies. So let's again file save. All right, and now we should be able to test this. So we're going to start the game. And I'm not doing very well already, but luckily I have all the, oh, level complete. There we go, we've killed all 5. So we should, after 5 seconds, it should start over. Oh, and it has. I think we're killing them before they even drop down. All right. So what's happening there, I don't know if you saw that, what's happening is it actually, once it spawns, once it spawned, the level is complete, even though I didn't kill the last ship. So there's probably 2 ships there and I killed them. And now level complete, and there's still a ship right there. Now that's okay, because we're going to actually spawn a boss, and it's going to come down. Instead of that message, it's going to come down. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and copy enemy 2, and we're going to call it boss 1. And now we're going to go ahead to our space shooter graphics. We're going to come down here. We're going to go to our enemy ships. Go ahead and open up boss 1. And we're going to change this to green 4. Now you can change it to anything. Change it to green 3. Actually good. But see, that looks too much like it, so green 4. There we go. And I'm going to close this down. I'm going to come into size, and I'm going to roughly double the size. So in this case, I'm going to change this to, that'd be 190, and let's just say 170. So that's going to be roughly double the size. Now, we don't want it to die with the first shot, so we're going to give it a health of, let's say, 25. Okay. Now, we created this health attribute before, but we really didn't use it, but now we are. So let's go ahead and file save. Now, instead of it destroying itself whenever it runs into a bullet, what we're going to do is we're going to have it decrease this health attribute whenever it gets hit by a laser. So this is the collides with laser. Alright. This is what it does, is it normally plays a sound and it increases the score. It spawns a power up. So we're going to go ahead and remove the score. We're going to leave the sound for now. We're going to remove the power up, remove the explosion, and remove this destroy self. So instead, what we're going to do is when we collide with the laser, is we're going to change attribute. And we're going to say boss 1 health is now boss 1 health minus 1. So each time it gets hit with a laser, we're going to decrease the health by 1. Now, because we have that health, we now need to check to see when this health is down to 0. So I'm going to create a new rule. I'm going to put it underneath the collide with laser rule. I'm going to say when attribute boss 1 health is less than or equal to 0. So that means we've fired at it so many times that its health is now down to 0. Then we're going to go ahead and play this sound. Now again, we're going to use our shortcut and Alt or Option drag. So we're going to play our sound if the sound is on. Then we're going to spawn the explosion. an enemy explosion. And its position is going to be boss 1, position X, and the vertical is boss 1, position Y. And that's relative to scene, so it happens exactly where the boss is. And then after that, or I should say at the same time, we're also going to spawn our level complete. Okay, and we're going to do that same place we did before, which is game, display size, width divided by 2. Again, that's relative to scene. And then game, display size, height divided by 2 plus 100. Alright, now it's done all that, so now we need it to destroy itself because we don't want the boss hanging out. We need this health check. And now we're going to go ahead and see what happens when we do this. So I'm going to file and save. And now I don't know if you noticed, but the level complete kind of was falling off the screen. So we're going to come back here. We're going to go to level complete. We're going to change this down to 36. And now we're going to hit preview, start game. And gotta stay alive to get to the boss. Now it says level complete, but we don't see a boss. Now why is that? Well, that's because we didn't tell it to spawn the boss. So let's come back in here, go to enemy spawner. Now instead of spawning the level complete, instead we're going to spawn boss 1. Now we're going to preview it. And there's the boss. Notice how the boss spawned right in the middle. Can you guess why? That's because we came in here, we spawned the boss, but we spawned him in the middle of the screen. So let's come back in here. And we're going to still spawn them in the middle of the screen, but here we're going to change this to enemy spawner Y, which is where we're spawning the others. So this is going to be above the screen, so it should come down. So we're going to file, save, and once again, we're going to give it a shot. Oh, here comes the big guy. But that's not normal boss behavior, is it? The boss is just coming down just like a normal enemy. So how do we get the boss to do something that's more boss-like? Well, what should he really do? He should probably hang out at the top of the screen. And I don't know if you noticed, but that boss was pretty darn big. So let's go back in here and let's change this back down to, let's just say 2/3 of this. So let's just say 140 by 120. There we go. So right now he comes down to the bottom of the screen, and when he gets down to the end of the screen, he destroys himself, which is exactly what the enemy 2 that we based him off of does. So What we want to do is we want to stop them at a certain point. So what we're going to do is we're going to say when attribute self position y is less than or equal to, and here's where it gets funky. So we want him to come down just off the top of the screen. So we're going to say we want him to go to game display size height, which would be the very top of the screen. We want him to come down a little bit more, so we're going to say minus, and let's go ahead and put a parenthesis here, boss size height divided by 2. Remember, the XY coordinate is the middle, so if we want him to come down, then we want him to come down about halfway. Alright. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Now when he does that, we're not going to destroy him. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, and again, we're going to just copy this down, and we're going to change the linear velocity y to 0. Basically, we're going to stop them. So let's see how that works. Start game, and I blew up. Oh, and there he is. See? He stops at the top of the screen, and he just sits there. Oh, that's not very interesting. We need to make him move. Right now I'm just trying to destroy him. Up, and we destroyed him, and level complete. Now theoretically, it should go away, and we start all over again. And I'm dead. So we have him coming down. So now we want him to move back and forth. So what to do that, we're going to create a new attribute, and we're going to call this a boolean. Okay. And what we're going to say is this boolean will be called destination. All right. Our destination will start off as false. However, once we reach that point that we want them to stop, we're going to change boss destination to true. And that means we've arrived where we want, and we need to start the X and Y movement to have them go across the screen. So now we need to create a rule, and we're going to say if attribute boss1 destination is true, now we want to start some movement. But here's where it gets fun. We need to say first if attribute boss motion linear velocity x, which is the horizontal movement, is equal to 0, which it's going to be the very first time, then we want to change attribute boss motion linear velocity x, and we're going to set it to negative because we're going to have it go left first, boss speed. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have him come down and go left. Now we don't want him to keep going left, because if he keeps going left, then what's going to happen is he's going to keep going right off the screen. So we're going to say if boss position X, and remember he's going to go, we want to check for left and for right. So if he's heading left and he's at less than or equal to boss size width divided by 2. Okay, so if he's at the edge of the screen, then we're going to change attribute boss motion linear velocity X to boss 1 speed. So we're going to basically send him to the right. And now we can copy this rule and we can say when it's greater than or equal to, now again we're going to use that formula, but I'm going to put it in parentheses, and we're going to say game display size width minus self size width divided by 2. So that's basically him at the edge, at the right edge of the screen. So if that's the case, if he's hit that, then we're going to change the speed back to negative self speed, meaning we're going to send him back to the left. And this is just going to keep going on basically until he dies. So I'm going to file, save, and it took me a while to kill him, so I'm going to change this down to about 10. It might take a little less if I had the triple gun, but I don't think I did at the time. So let's try it now. And it helps if I don't die right away. And I'm going to die again. All right, there's my double gun. Oh, here he comes. Oh, nice moving. Moving and firing. And we shot him. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but he came to the left, then he hit the left, bounced back to the right, and he would just keep doing that. Of course, we complete our level, and our game is over. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and file, save, and that's pretty much going to end episode 10. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, we have plenty of tutorials on monkeyuncle.com. Please come and visit us, and I hope to see you in our next episode.